Everybody on? In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, adequate notice of meeting has been provided. Carol, would you please call the roll?
Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, sorry. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Then I'll do the roll call.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, roll call, please.
Now roll call. Okay. Jay,
Here.
George, is he
Boy, absent. I didn't get a call from him.
absent? Sue?
And I didn't, I mark her absent too.
Okay. Barbara?
Here.
Fiore?
Here.
Carol Sick?
Here.
Mark Pats?
Here.
Ruth Ann's been excused. Shane?
Yeah.
Here.
Here. Okay, you have the minutes, the corrected minutes from the June meeting and the minutes from the August meeting. We didn't have a meeting in July.
So I think there was just one change to the June meeting.
What was it? Do you remember?
It was in item number 9, and it's underlined what we changed.
Oh. No, okay.
It's a nice ringtone.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the June 14 minutes as corrected.
I make a motion to approve June's minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Carol. Sick. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 9th meeting as presented.
I wasn't here, so
Pardon?
I'll approve the minutes of
Okay, by Carol.
August 9th.
I wasn't here.
You weren't there. You abstained.
I abstained.
I'll-
Mark.
I'll second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor? Any abstentions? What?
Me?
All right, good, thank you. All right, now we have a visitor today. We'll take that so not to take up too much of his time. It's Mr.
Guthrie.
Guthrie. Come on up, have a seat, Mr. Guthrie.
Want to give them that?
Yeah. How about we give you a
Give you a microphone.
mic, Mr. Guthrie?
Thank you.
Mr. Guthrie's here because of the sidewalk repair on 1312 Ohio Avenue. Through a lot of series of back and forth, it seems like Mr. Guthrie didn't get the 2 quotes that he was required to get the sidewalk prior to get involved in the 50/50
Actually, I did.
program. Pardon?
Actually, I did.
Yeah, I understand that
And
the
I second, what do you call it, proposal was so high that if I don't think you sent it in, did you not? I did, and I did send it to Nancy around June 11th, and I have a hard copy of it here. And so there,
Did you send in half of the sidewalk repair
I
money?
sent in just for the sidewalk, I also had a block of the driveway
I
replaced.
saw that. You had two blocks of the, two separate blocks of the sidewalk done.
3.
Three, okay,
Yes, sir.
3 blocks
Uh-huh.
that were affected by the tree, correct?
Yes, that's the, if I may. Let me give that to you. And I sent this to Nancy Mohan around,
Nancy, okay.
say it was around July 11th.
K-May Concrete, oh, this is
Yeah.
pretty expensive.
And that was done, and now that amount also includes replacing that first driveway block, which of
Right.
course is not something that I'm making an application for reimbursement for. But it does include, it includes the sidewalk paving blocks.
The 2 block, 3
Well,
blocks.
actually, Mr. Troiano did 3 blocks. He also did, and the total charge for those blocks was $600, which I paid.
For the sidewalk, for the
Just for the
driveway apron and the
No,
2? Just for the 3 blocks?
3 sidewalk blocks. And I sent pictures this morning, just for the sake of the
Well,
record.
Nancy's unfortunate.
I know, she's not here, I could gather that from what you were discussing, but I sent those pictures, I have them on my cell phone too, so, but they're just for the 3 sidewalk blocks.
Right.
And,
Okay,
so I got the estimate from, I think it's Mr. McHugh of Cape May Concrete.
right.
And he never said anything to me about the Shade Tree Commission and any possibility of copay or reimbursement or anything like that. It wasn't until I got Troiani and Son to come out and give me an estimate because of Cape May Concrete's estimate. And then he said, you're entitled to have half of the sidewalk portion reimbursed
The
or
3,
covered.
the 3 blocks.
And he sent a copy on September 29th to the Shade Tree Commission, to the attention of Nancy Mohan.
Right, that's our secretary.
Correct. And then,
Well, normally on something like that, when we have a chance to approve it, I mean, we would have rejected $2,200 out of hand anyhow, as
well,
too,
I thought it was, I
too
thought it was high
expensive.
too. I
He
mean,
probably, I can't say what his things are, but,
Right.
bidding not to get the job, that's it was pretty
Possible, too.
expensive by any standards, but I would have gone out, or the commissioner would have gone out and taken a look at the job and confirmed that it was this number 3 blocks to be done. And then once the bids came in, we would have probably have approved Triano. We would ask you then for half of that 3 block work money up front.
Right.
And then when we got that, we would release Triano to do the job. When it was done to our satisfaction, I mean, apart from the driveway.
Apart from the driveway.
Right.
And I actually had Troiano do an extra piece, which had nothing to do with what I'm appealing for
Right.
here, requesting here. It was a piece down off the entrance to the driveway, which is not related to the sidewalk at all.
Okay.
But it's just those 3 blocks that was in question.
So how much are we talking about here?
$300 is what I would request. And,
Three-
and, yeah, and the reason for that is, I mean, when last September, by the time we got there, there were one of the blocks was starting to crumble.
Right,
And then 2 of the blocks started to pitch up.
yeah,
And one of them, if you look in the picture, there's actually a little, like a nodule coming off. That
Coming
was
out of it, yeah.
Beautiful tripping hazard. And so, that's why we got the estimates. And everybody was having problems getting help in those days, and I'm not sure it's much better now. But so then I got Troiano, and then he didn't hear anything from Nancy, and we went back home. We just come up here for part of the summer, and then so it got lost. And I said to my wife Irene, I said, we've got to attend to that as soon as we get back. So we did, and I know you had some snow here.
Had some what?
Some snow in the winter.
Well, yeah.
And a big snowstorm or 2, but in any event, we got back around June 10th or 11th, and when we got back, we noticed that those 2 parts of the blocks that had lifted had lifted even,
more.
let's say, half inch.
Yeah, you've got a couple of pine trees on your property
We do
itself.
have on the property itself.
Yeah, that might have, but that's not to say that the main damage is not from the deciduous tree that's in front between the sidewalk and the curve, which is the city's tree.
So with the increased traffic coming in for the summer, and we're saying
Right.
this, I mean, we've been here this is our 40th summer. And we said we don't want anybody to trip and get hurt.
Right.
It's a
No.
liability issue.
Now,
for the city
a
and-
homeowner, whether you rent a place out or not, is required to keep the sidewalk in good repair, even though he doesn't own the sidewalk per se.
Correct, So and Troiano, I contacted Troiano. As a matter of fact, I contacted him. We're out for a bike ride, and whom should we drive past down on Idaho, close to Madison? But Ernie Troiano and his crew, and they're doing a big job down there. And so I talked to him, and I called him. He said, I'll call you in a day or two. And he just so happened to be in another job at Cape May. He said, I can fit yours in. And I
Right.
said, well, I haven't straightened anything out with the Shade Tree Commission, he said. But I
Okay.
wanted to get it done because
I
of
understand.
the
Well,
hazard.
we're under the gun from the city managers up there. We have to try to adhere to the program as was set up. If we don't, we'll wind up having the program get canceled and not having any money for the 50/50 program.
Right.
So this is why we try to set it up this way. Any comments from anybody?
I have a quick question, because I read that thoroughly, that whole.
Yeah, Nancy sent us,
Nancy,
the
it's
chain-
about an
Nancy
hour to
sent us
read
the
it all.
chain of
So,
correspondence.
My
Oh, good.
question right now is, are we discussing the fact that Mr. Guthrie did not know about the 50/50 sidewalk situation here for Shade Tree?
I did not.
See,
And
there
as a
you
matter of
go.
fact, it's not posted anywhere. I tried
That
to
is our
find it.
problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem. We've been discussing this for weeks
When,
now.
when
about-
somebody comes in and wants to get sidewalk repair and calls the city, Nancy explains what the 50/50 program is. Sends the commissioner out to confirm that it's a city tree causing the problem. And then she sends a letter of
reading this.
explanation to the homeowner saying, 2 quotes,
That's what I wanted to ask.
okay?
2 estimates.
We pick one,
Don't they have to be?
contact you again 50% upfront. We let the contract out, and when it's done to our satisfaction,
to get it
we pay the whole amount to the contract.
So I don't.
So I'm back to the original thing, that Mr. Guthrie did not know about the 50, we as a Shade Tree Commission we have to do something with the government, or in the Shade Tree thing, to have people know it. It's got to be on some kind of a form, because this was all about a tree. A
Yeah,
sidewalk, a
yes,
tree.
yes. I mean,
So-
when they did the work, I saw the
That's
roofs.
that's what we're involved in. So my feeling is, how can people do this and be blamed for it when they don't know about the 50/50 sidewalk?
Well-
That's my big situation. You
Miss-
have to know about it to use it.
Right.
Mr. Guthrie, how did you find out about the sidewalk program then?
It was Ernie Troiano. When I spoke to Mr. McEwen, I think his name is, of Cape May Concrete, he didn't say anything about it. So, but as the chairman pointed out, his estimate was too high for our.
So you never
Yeah.
got another,
Oh, we did. We got 2. You see, my position is that we substantially complied with your requirements. Requirement is 2 estimates. The higher was the Cape May Concrete, and that caused us to go out, and usually get 2 estimates anyway. Went out and got a second estimate from Troiano. They've been around for 100 years, and they came. Ernie Troiano told me about the program.
Right.
And
He
he
does-
said, and he submitted it, I've got, he submitted it in this document here. This was on September 29th. So I believe that I substantially, Irene and I substantially complied with your requirements.
So, Mr. Guthrie, you got
for
2
the street
quotes
sidewalk box.
before you knew about the program.
Right. I read.
And so you kind
The
of,
second quote, we found out about the program.
okay,
And Troiano told us, I'm sending it to the commission and to you.
right.
And then we didn't hear anything, and then we went back for the winter, and
Right.
and we're back in the spring.
Right, so you're kind of doing the work after the fact?
After the fact, yeah.
Right, okay.
And I was concerned, I mean, I really was concerned, I was concerned to get the quotes to begin with, but I was especially concerned when we had gotten back, and I looked at the condition of the sidewalk, and this one nodule that came off one right next to the tree, it was a nodule about this high, it looked like almost like a key. That was prime tripping.
Yeah.
And my wife and I sit on the porch and drink coffee in the morning, and we watch a number of people walking up and down, walking their dogs in the morning, and I'm saying, there's a lot of people my age, I don't want anybody to get hurt, anybody, and so.
Yeah, normally we get those nodules coming up from the cypress trees that we put in here and there. They put up nodules. There's a lot of those on Cape May Avenue and a few of the other ones over by,
So we feel that we complied, technically, but kind of in a backwards fashion. We got the 2 quotes, and so we're trying to be responsible members of the community. We love Cape May, listening to you folks, and I don't want you to misconstrue why I'm saying this. But it occurred to me, I'm not trying to get any brownie points here. In 1983, we looked at some properties in Ocean City. We looked at Cape May. Thank you. And one of the things that impressed us about Cape May, which we only had passing familiarity with, is the trees. It's a city of trees. It is different from every other shore point in the state, as far as I know, and certainly in South Jersey. So it's important work that you do, and I just think that we tried to do the responsible thing. We want to be good citizens, and we want to protect the public. So.
I mean, I know we're trying to shore up the whole procedure for the 50/50 reimbursement, but I kind of would suggest that even though Mr. Guthrie complied kind of after the fact, I would suggest that we approve his
I agree,
I agree.
I agree.
and then once we have documented firm procedures for how people are identified or notified.
Normally people don't rely on the cement contractor to tell them about the program.
Right.
Normally they call and say, I got to get a sidewalk fixed. And then we say 2 estimates, submit them to us. We pick one that we think is going to do the best job, and allows us to talk to the contractor and say, hump it up over the root, arc it into the yard, or shave some of the roots off if it's not, if I don't think it's too much. And that way, we preserve the integrity of the tree, because these trees will fall toward the cut area. If you cut those roots off, the tree isn't going to fall into the street. It's going to fall toward the house, which is even worse situation.
I've planted in my day, I planted between Pennsylvania and here. We lived in Montgomery County, we don't anymore, but about 35 trees, including, only lost 1 or 4, but a couple of pin oak trees in Montgomery County, of which I'm especially proud because they're almost 50 years old and they're magnificent. So I love trees, when I said to Ernie, I said, I want you to make sure this, and he was very careful as far as.
Got our flag for 40 years, Tree City, USA, in Cape May just recently, and we're pretty proud of that. I'm of the opinion also we should go ahead and authorize a $300 payment, because you paid the bill.
We did, yes.
So I think we
Nancy
should
has the
make an exception in this case and authorize a $300 payment to Mr. Guthrie. What do you think?
I agree.
Make it a vote.
Take the vote.
Should be a vote. It's a financial issue.
Although I'll call for a vote to make the $300 payment to Mr. Guthrie on this particular case. Second. All those approved? Any opposed?
I don't know what to
Okay,
say.
No, that's all right.
I don't know what to say.
No, it's best if you don't have all the information, that's okay.
Okay.
The vote's passed. Let me ask you a question. When a concrete person gets a permit to do the concrete work,
Yes.
There should probably be a big disclaimer on the top of the permit application that says, if this is for a replacement sidewalk in accordance to the Shade Tree Commission, there must be 2 quotes and approval
By the shade tree.
before this permit is
Right.
put
Some,
out.
some people just go ahead and do it. I mean, just go ahead and do it, and which is fine. It's up to the homeowner. They're not forced to accept this program. But what happens is the concrete guy gets in there and cuts the roots. So that takes us out of the equation. We wind up with dying trees.
Well, that should also be part of the,
Pardon?
that should also be a part of a disclaimer notice as part of the application.
Well,
You
we're
know.
gonna have to put that into our new,
Ordinances.
Yeah,
agenda.
Yeah, it's just all over the place right now.
and, you know, that way it kind
Okay.
of stops the.
Okay, I'll take steps to
before
make
it-
sure that we ask for request that the $300 payment be made to you in this case. So God forbid this should happen again. Get 2 quotes up front.
Believe me, there's talking about doing things sort of bass-ackwards. I didn't mean to do it that way, but
Right.
I really appreciate not only your time, but
Well, we're sorry you had to go through all this, but
Everything's an exception.
again, it's to keep our
I understand.
our noses clean and stuff and make sure that we're confined with what the city administrator wants and whatnot to keep this program viable.
And just so you realize, this thing about 2 quotes, that's a statewide requirement for government agencies, not just shade trees.
right.
Yeah,
So I would think. that-
yeah, even when they go out and look for office equipment, they got to get 2
Yeah.
quotes and stuff. So we're
I used to
bound
work
by
for the
that.
City of Philadelphia many years ago, and
Right.
I had some, I knew about the acquisition. I had a buddy of mine that was with the school district in purchasing, and heard some interesting stories from him. Well, I appreciate your time, and also my congratulations on this group in terms of what you're doing in honor of that flag, that this is very, very important, and I really hope
Well, you drive down your street, you drive down Idaho, you drive down
Oh, yeah.
Maryland, you drive down New York Avenue, and the trees from each side touch and arc over the street. That's all,
Yeah. It's a shame we lost the chestnut trees there on
Cape May Avenue.
on Cape May Avenue a few years ago, because my wife and I would ride by them, and we were really hopeful that.
Yeah, Mark was instrumental in getting those trees
That
in.
was, that,
We hope,
I mean, and with a little plaque, I mean,
well, we hope, there's a couple of memorial trees in there now.
are there?
Yeah, so I think when we get more chestnut trees, I think our idea is to try to get them to plant it in the park, in the Lafayette Street Park. The ground may be a little bit better there.
Well, let me just say this. They're in the process of back crossing genetically with Chinese chestnuts and American chestnuts. So the trees that we get through their program aren't to say they've gone through enough generations that they're going to be blight resistant. You know, the trees, you could see them coming when they started to go. That was it, you know?
Is that what happened to blight?
Yes.
Got them? Because we thought maybe it was dry and they weren't getting a lot of water.
I
And we even
watered
said to
them.
someone, we'll go water
I
them during the
watered them
summer.
3 times a week.
Did you?
Yes.
So that didn't, so it wasn't the water that.
It wasn't the water.
I think it's the ground there. You
No,
know,
I think it's, they're in the process of developing
The strain.
blight-resistant trees, and you may be in need of 6 generations of trees to do it that way. Syracuse is doing it with gene splicing. That may be a lot quicker, but.
okay. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you all.
All right.
Our pleasure.
Appreciate the time and the approval, of course. But thank you very much. And keep up the good work, too.
Thank
All right, thank you.
And get more chestnut trees, too. I love it.
We're waiting for.
Longfellow would like it, too. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
care.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie. All right, Carol, take a look at those trees along the parking lot, along the railroad tracks, okay? And count how many trees. Lou said that they'll keep 3 or 4 trees up that are right near the restaurant building itself. But all the rest of those trees will have to go because of the head-in parking that they have to do. They're not allowed, they're not gonna be allowed to pave over the railroad tracks, for parking. But they can bring the macadam up to the edge of the track, but that still has to be where a train, if, you know, Lord knows, and the sun doesn't shine and the winds blow right, there still could be a train coming in there, so they have to maintain that right of way.
Well, George McCrae has a permit to those tracks from the state, so that's why we have to keep it.
What?
Okay.
McCrae, he has a permit to those tracks. Tony McCrae, yeah.
Here forever and ever.
He
Oh, to keep them.
he has a right to those tracks, so we have to preserve
Yeah,
it.
that's the Cape May Seashore Lines.
Yeah, I remember.
He ran the Christmas train, excursion train for a while. When the bridge was working,
Yeah, it was nice.
it would run it up to Tuckahoe, you know, on excursions, which was a nice
nice.
little holiday ride.
Christmas parade.
It's a nice tour.
Yes.
So you're talking about near Oyster Bay and some of those other
yeah.
places?
The station, the trees to the east, along the,
Pine trees.
they're all pine in there.
So would you say they're gonna remove most of them, but we wanna keep some?
With the three close to the, up against the building itself, you know, the restaurant building, they can't remove those. But the rest of them, they're all go, and I haven't seen the plans, but apparently there are plans to add more trees in there someplace.
So what do you want me to do? Count them?
Just give me an idea, take a look at the trees and let me know.
Pine trees.
And then I'll talk to Lou and tell him, yes, it's okay, or no, save all the trees, or
Maybe
most-
just look and see what they look like too,
Yeah.
you know, what condition and stuff.
Guess
they're
they're
in.
Everybody
coming
should
down
take,
anyway.
when they leave today, everybody take a look at those trees. Don't get run over by the pedal vehicles, they're going up the tracks.
I'll try not to.
Okay, the county engineer, gentleman by the name of Bill Burns, was supposed to be here today to talk about the big linden tree in front of the Franklin Street School. He's got some sort of a piece of equipment that has to go along in front and supply concrete to the workers on scaffolding as they reattach the brickwork on the building. This is what he explained to me, and I had a meeting with him 2 weeks ago. And I said, bring it before the board. And he's not here today, so I suggest we hold this until he comes in and talks to us maybe in the October meeting. There hasn't really been anything moving that much, other than the county involved on the Franklin Street School, has there?
The bid has been approved.
Yeah,
It has been
just
approved.
got
Has,
approved,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Then
we're
now-
we're waiting for the dates for us to tell the public when they're gonna start, but we don't know that for sure yet.
Okay. so
But
we
speaking
got-
of that tree is an important
that
tree.
sounds
You know,
We got some time on
how
that.
old do you think that tree is?
What?
How old do you think that tree is?
I'd say that tree is 75 or 80 years old, if not more. They say that when that
100.
building was built, there were no trees in front of it. Well, of course, probably not. But that tree's been there, you know, a long time.
Well, I'll bring this up to the city council meeting because, in my opinion, I want to save that tree. And if, as a
I'd
city
like
council
to.
project as well.
I'd like to, but that's why I wanted him to come in and convince us that he needs to get a piece of equipment in there to supply concrete. But there's plenty of room to put scaffolding in there.
It's really the only-
It's just a question of how do you get the
It's a
concrete up
machine,
there.
you just put a machine into that little driveway section there going into City Hall.
You know,
I
I
tree down.
don't know if you're familiar with
Where's it
construction.
located?
Right out front.
Oh, in the front
Yeah.
of the property. Oh,
I don't know,
I don't want to tie up that drive.
you familiar with these pumps, concrete pumps?
Concrete pumps, yeah.
You know, here's a cement trunk, it goes to a pumping thing with a big, long thing, and drops it right where they need it, whether it's,
So he
you
doesn't
know,
have to
a
take it through.
Yeah.
It's
a
the
small
easiest.
pan or whatever,
Right.
or a larger pan.
Comes
There's,
another
seems to be no reason to not, get rid of a tree because of that.
And I think.
Yeah, they ought to be able, with something like that, flexible hose, they ought to be able to work that around from either driveway. And of course, the construction that's going on now with putting the roof trusses on the fire hall, they obviously can't do anything until that's all out of the way.
Well, it's moving quickly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just had a question about the fire hall. Did you ever decide what they're going to tell them about the trees? Those 3 trees we looked at.
To do what?
Those 3 trees we looked at around the fire construction of the new fire building? The one tree that had the plaque. wanted to cut down.
Yes, they wanted to take the Davy Todd Memorial tree out. They wanted to take the tree out in the back that's touching the fire hall, and they wanted to take the Gene Westland police department tree out, which was touching the back of the building.
So
I
what
said,
hap-
no,
okay,
trim them.
good.
So I had Manir come in and trim all 3 trees,
Okay.
and trimmed the street tree where, when the fire trucks would pull, I had a clear sight to the south to make a turn. So,
good.
as far as I know, that's laying to bed. But no,
good.
they wanted to, for some reason or another, they wanted to take, that's those 2 memorial trees and that 3rd tree in the back. All I had to do is have a couple of branches taken off that touched the roof of the fire hall.
Oh, good.
I mean, a fire
wondered what happened.
museum. Yeah.
That's good. That makes me glad.
Okay, so we're going to wait to see what Mr. Burns has to say, if he ever comes back in, about that. And Texas Avenue, tree removal, I think, did everybody have a chance to look at, remember Doc, what's his name? Drake's old office on Texas Avenue?
Street, yeah.
What do you think about that tree that's there?
Looks just like the one in front of my house. Looks healthy. It's younger, but
Yeah, maybe some
looks
trimming,
like the one I have.
but it's not there, it's not affecting the building at all, so I think your denial should stay on.
Denial
Yes,
stands.
yeah, I mean,
Thank
I
you.
won the same tree, but mine's just older, but
yeah,
bigger, but it's just,
It's not even near that close to the house.
that's in the middle of the yard.
Exactly.
yeah. If they want to landscape, they can landscape around the trees that are there. Because that building is like sticking off by itself anyhow with no landscaping around. And I think he put in that wooden clapboard fence that's all around. I think, or did Alta Belli put that in?
That fence way in the back, that's been
Yeah.
there for,
No, there's a wooden clapboard fence that's all around that property.
now there isn't.
No.
Not in the front, anyway.
Not the front, no, but on the,
Are we talking
on
about
the
like
3
where the
sides.
sea view is?
Down the next
Yes.
block down,
Yeah,
No,
we
it's the
talked
next
about
block.
that several months
No,
ago, if
this
you
is
recall. Wasn't that
Not,
the
not where the
neighbor?
sea view is.
crossing the Wawa.
This is where Dr. Drake's office.
Oh, okay.
It's across
On the
the
other
street.
side.
On the other side.
Yeah, the other side's Rizzo, on that side.
Yeah.
Chiropractor's office.
Yeah, chiropractor's office and Drake's office is just to the south.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll save that tree. Status unchanged, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that tree.
Okay, so Linden Tree, we're going to wait to see what the county engineer has to say about that. All right.
Is on that school, are they just gonna do this resurfacing on the front brick, or are they gonna go all around that?
No, just on the railroad track side,
The school, down by the school.
right?
Talking about the school.
School,
Oh, I'm sorry.
school with the linden tree, are they gonna, I'm wondering, just do the front of that school?
Oh, I don't
Or are
know.
they gonna go around?
I don't
The
know.
whole building needs work.
Yeah.
That's my point, and then we got 2 more linden trees back there.
Yeah, along the fence line that are on the,
Kind of off the
Yeah,
property line there. But sometimes it's
well, I did give approval to the Macedonian Church and the Harriet Tubman Museum to take the one tree down. They couldn't get vehicles back in without wiping their side view mirrors off. So I did give them approval to take that tree down.
that's the one that's growing in the fence, right?
Yes, it was in the fence, half and half, so.
Can I bring something up? Because I'm just now reading this, and I wasn't here last month. So I see here that under tree removal permits, are they all just for street trees, or are they for any other type of?
They're all private property trees.
Oh, they're private, that's what I was just gonna say, because I had 2 of them on the 665 U Street.
Oh.
I approved one, but I didn't approve the other. Okay, that's. that-
I meant to say that also to Ruth Ann, she's not here, but they had a tree on Massachusetts Avenue. It was one of the largest silver maple trees in the area. And we had Mickey Riggins come in and do an assessment on the tree, because Ruth Ann and I both said, well, this tree doesn't look that bad. It's got some the branches could be trimmed off, but it's a huge tree. If that tree falls over, it's going to fall in an empty lot, because most of the other houses will be swept away by the wind before that tree falls over. But he said it's got a lot of root rot and everything else. I told her that we probably should give approval with a $75 fee. But having read Mickey's report, I told Nancy to wipe off the $75 because it would be a hazardous tree. But again, if that fell, it would probably fall on the rubble of everything else, because that, but that's just my opinion, so.
Is that multi-trunk?
No, it was a
No.
single trunk tree, but it was a
Single.
50-some-odd inch tree. It was a
You know,
BFT, big fat tree.
you never know what the inside of that tree's like.
Well, you don't, you really don't. But the root rot was pretty evident. There was a lot of root rot on the thing.
The ones on Michigan, see the chunk they're taking out of Michigan, or
Out of where?
on Michigan Avenue, the stump they're taking out of there, I mean, the cuts, that's massive too, that one.
Yeah.
Back by
Remember
the
that-
tennis court there,
Remember that?
Oh, by the tennis, yeah, that's where it is.
but I mean,
On Michigan, it's on Michigan Avenue.
yeah,
Are they taking it out now?
yeah, they've been working there for days, I could see the trailers loaded up with it,
Who's doing it?
Matt.
Matt Notch? Okay.
Remember that one by Elaine's? It was between Elaine's and the sidewalk. It was a big tree.
That fell, yeah. Oh, I want to talk about that also, I want to talk about when you're going around. But that tree on Sunset Boulevard, 15 feet of that tree is now a carved sculpture on Cape May Avenue. On Sunset Boulevard, has birds and everything else carved on the thing. The guy from Elaine, bought that stump from that tree.
Oh, so that wasn't always there, okay.
No, that's only been there for less than 2 years. That stump, that carcass of that tree that fell at Elaine's
Elaine's.
was purchased, and the guy had a wood carver come in and carve that.
That's at Shumpike and
It's Shun Pike and Sunset Boulevard.
And that house right there is actually one of the houses from South Cape May that was destroyed.
Was
And
once-
they-
was
they
the
took off
top-
They took off the first floor, and they kept the second and third, and then they built onto that too.
That was the second or third floor on the ground. That was the second or third floor on the ground, and then last year, they put 2 stories underneath the thing. I'm sorry, I always used to tell people, that roof, with the fish scale roof, that belongs up on the 3rd floor, because that came off of South Cape May House. Now it's up the way it should be, so story's shot.
So those are watching out there, go check it out.
Shun Pike and Sunset.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I haven't ridden down Sunset in a long time.
Wow.
The guy Lynn that owns the place is nice.
Okay, does anybody have anything more for the good of, we got to get the committee together and start going through that. With you, I don't want to be in charge of that committee.
I was gonna have Nancy put out an email. If anybody wants to work on a date together, we'll just write it through emails,
Right.
come up with a date and a time. If there are more than a quorum,
Yes,
we'll just have to
Open Meeting Act.
Open
I
Meeting Act
understand
it, so that way we're in compliance, but
okay,
I'll work with that with Nancy.
Okay,
see if
work
we
it
can
out
get up
with
a
There's
date.
4 of
Next
us,
month, the
right?
convention.
It's 4 of us, but if anybody else wants to jump in there
October,
too.
usually convention month.
the what?
Usually the convention's next month, isn't it?
October, yeah. That's probably going to be up in Cherry Hill again. I'm going to encourage everybody to try to get up there. I got a vehicle that'll take me up there now, so
What's the date on that?
it's probably the 22nd, 23rd. We haven't got the
Won't be
information
here.
yet.
Okay.
But that's usually worthwhile. We've all been up there to
Yep. Yeah.
those things.
I've never been there, so I'd like to be part of that.
Yeah, you were there, you were signed up to go, signed up to go once, and something happened.
Yeah.
You had to go carve a carcass of beef or something.
I got something in the mail a while ago, was the little thing in the mail.
Give me a nice one.
Yeah, the little, yes, I haven't gotten one of those in a while. I wonder if they're still doing that. But anyhow, that should be coming up.
Well, in regards to our subcommittee and getting with Nancy, I'm gonna go downstairs and get a permit application for sidewalks, see what we can add to that too.
Can you, okay, all right, can you talk to the construction guy down there and ask that be put on the thing?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
because we can talk to them, but you have more horsepower.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right.
But I just want to run with the committee or the commission before we ever move any forward, because this is your,
Okay.
I'm just liaison.
All right, does anybody have anything? Yes.
Yeah, I think on this 50/50, it would be, I reviewed every time I go to a sidewalk, the whole program and what they gotta do. But you don't have something to hand them. I work with the public in our bed and breakfast all the time. You tell them all this information and then
Right.
they remember half of it, you know?
Yeah.
You tell them where the Wi-Fi password is and they forget. And they
Can you
come
write
down.
up, can you just write up something brief that we can talk to Nancy about, to have her hand out, or make sure she's got that information that she
I
can?
think Nancy knows the terms of the program better than I do.
Right, okay.
You know, and maybe she comes back, but just,
And
Main
to
points.
answer your question,
And so.
We don't wanna
the idea
make a
would be
big-
For us to bring it with us when we
Yes.
look at the
yep,
sidewalks.
yep. Have 3 or 4 at home.
Right, so when we have to
So
go
when you
check
get
it.
called for a,
I think the idea on this is
maybe?
Yeah.
not to make a big
Sheet, I guess.
Broadway production of the 50/50 program, because otherwise, we'd be out of money. And we got a certain budget in the thing now, I'm not exactly sure what it is all the time, but we run out of money on that particular program, where that's it for the year until we get another thing the next month. Because, yes,
But the only problem with that, Jay, is it's going to become like a soap opera then.
Yeah.
Because then some people, if they don't get that information, are going to find out about it later on. They're going to say, well, why didn't you let me know about it? That's the big problem. We have to work something out with the budget. That's what we have to work out with the city of Cape May.
Now, let me ask you this. Here we sit with a microphone in front of us, right? So that everybody, and I know a guy who watches these meetings, right?
I forgot about that.
And at some point, we're gonna have to adjust, look at the program and say, we need more money if we're gonna do it.
Right.
Well,
And a lot of the money we bring in, the $75, which used to be 25 and all that, we don't see that. It doesn't go into our budget. It's passed through.
well,
The city,
the way I look at it, as a commission, we should be a little more stringent and strict about the 50/50 rule, as well as cutting down trees illegally. If we can get that money from the people that cut down those trees illegally, that money should go right into the 50/50
That's
program.
true.
yeah.
So I think by being us a little bit tougher on the public with these rules,
Maybe we need to think about unless it being 50/50, maybe it should be 75/25. I mean, that helps the budget.
it does. But we want to encourage safe sidewalks as
Right,
well.
that's true, too.
It's a hard thing we're doing here.
So we still don't know how we're going to tell the public about this. I mean, if we're called in on it, but what if we're not? I don't know how we're going to let everybody know this is I don't know if I would have known that. I don't have a sidewalk.
Well, I think part of it would be putting a notice disclaimer on the sidewalk permit for whoever's doing the work. It is suggested that they explain this program to their.
You put it with the tax bill, like we get all this other stuff in the tax bill.
Well, we could do that too.
Yeah.
We could do that too, but in the meantime,
Somewhere everybody's going to see it.
I mean, we get all these other notices, it goes in with your tax bill.
yeah.
And are there certain contractors that were supposed to be part of this 50/50, Jay? Troyano and others?
I don't
Veritop?
think there's any particular, there's no particular contractors. The only thing that we discussed in the last meeting was that we, as the shade tree, were not allowed to give the people that wanted the trees removed a suggestion. I mean, that we could give suggestions, we could not recommend.
Right.
That was the situation. We could give
I-
suggestions of who they were,
So they can pick any two contractors.
as far as I know.
And I think Nancy has a list upstairs. I
All the
think she
license
mentioned
and
that.
work here.
she's got a list of what?
She's got a list of
Contract-
contractors that, a
Can do
person can get their multiple bids from.
Yes, yes, she does, because these are contractors that apply for permits to work in Cape May. You have to, Same thing with the tree surgeons down here. We've had several cases where I've got calls from people saying, is this guy licensed to work in Cape May? And it turns out they weren't, but they went through the process, provided their workers' compensation policy, their insurance, and their business licenses, you know, and they were able to work in the city of Cape May. They were from Millville Island area. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I can entertain.
Barbara and Mark, all those in favor? Thank you very much. I'll have your folders. Yes, turn the microphones off. I'll put the microphone, turn it off, Barbara. Press the button.